I'm no stranger to 3D modeling, but I don't know the current state of what the best programs are to use and which ones play nice with the 3D printers.
I'm amazed that this generation of printer is just literally making this the replicator from Star Trek. This may be the most dangerous thing about the 3D printing hobby. Right?
It's so funny how often the first thing you blurt out is like, yeah, but that's dumb. And then you talk a lot and you're like, yeah, I guess we're going with the dumb thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
This episode of The Modern Rogue is brought to you by Privacy. Protect your online identity from identity thieves who are going to steal your identity by heading on over to privacy.com/rogue. You'll be able to have one-time use cards. You'll be able to lock cards to independent merchants and get $5 free when you head on over to privacy.com/rogue. The podcast studio is doing gangbusters. Everything's coming along great. And now I'm at that weird psychological part where I notice little itty bitty things. So these guys can color change, and I figure as long as they're charging, they might as well be displaying something. But I don't love these wires being visible or poking out from here, right?
Yeah.
What do they call them? Sconces? Light covers? Floor light?
Yeah, you're talking about like the things that used to be on like old theaters, old stages?
Yeah, like in when I think of vaudeville or Bugs Bunny or whatever, like they got, I don't know, 3 circles that, clamshell, like a clamshell thing.
Yeah, so those are called footlights, right? And they were around the base of a stage, that way people in the audience could see the performers' faces.
Right.
Also kept the glare of the light off the audience's eyes. And then they were shaped like shells because that was what was in vogue at the time.
Okay, well, so I'm not in love with shells necessarily, although that's not terrible because the trophies are evocative. These are actually modeled after Willard the Wizard, who was early, mid-20th century legend touring.
We have a 3D printer and we have a CAD program, so we can kind of make whatever you want.
Okay, so basically, I know enough to know I want a thing that looks in universe here that will cover from here forward. And I don't know if the wire's gonna go up, but whatever. Like, I just don't want to see these lights on the back of these lights.
Okay, so do you don't want just a simple wire cover, right? We wanted something a little more interesting.
Yeah, let's just say this. I want a thing like this to do this.
Okay, can the wire go that way, or do you want it to go around the front still?
We'll say wire in front, because it'd be neat if there's just a little doop.
Yeah, okay, so
then we'd be taking advantage of the customness.
Yeah, let's go this way. I've set up an office. Pull up a seat in your own place. Okay, so as far as 3D modeling goes, there's kind of 2 approaches, right? There's solid modeling and there's mesh modeling. You're probably more familiar with mesh modeling. That's used for more organic shapes and also assets for things like video games and visual effects.
Like man, back in the day, it was as simple as you might start with a sphere and just tessellate everything, and you could actually just grab and extrude, and essentially you were treating it like a lump of clay. Right. And whenever you need more polygons, you would just ask for some.
Totally. Then the other side of that is solid part modeling. So with a mesh model, if you want to 3D print it or CNC mill it or anything like that, you have to make sure it's watertight.
If you're playing a video game, it doesn't matter if you have some stray polygons that don't totally line up.
Right.
But if you're 3D printing, it has to be. That's why I'm thinking you would start with a primitive that is watertight.
Right, and that's basically what solid part modeling is, where you can start with your base shape and then you can add to it, subtract from it, and it's always going to be watertight because you're working with solid parts.
Okay, so what software are we in?
So I'm in Fusion 360. Fusion 360 is the program that I chose to work with, one, because it's fundamentally free. If you have a hobby license, you can just download it and use it with almost all of its features. But what that also means is that there's a huge user base because of that enticing thing of it being, free for hobbyists, which means that there is a massive community of people telling you how to do things. So if I got lost, anything like that, or if someone who's using it gets lost, you can very easily find some sort of tutorial online, which makes learning it a lot easier.
Would we start with just a primitive and make it ourselves, or is there a shopping mall that we could take a tour of to see if there's already floor lights out there?
So you could go onto websites like Thangs or Thingiverse or something like that, and you could look up floor light. Those are mostly going to be STLs or .obj files, which are mesh models.
Okay.
And solid part models and mesh models don't always play well together.
Well, but I would have thought, like, Thingiverse, isn't that for 3D printers?
Yeah, absolutely, but they're mostly sharing, like I said, STL files, which are the files that are ready to be sliced and made into 3D printed models.
Okay.
Because we're doing more design work, we want to have more modifiability.
Okay.
So if we were to download one of those mesh models, one of those STLs, we could manipulate it in something like Meshmixer or ZBrush or something like that. But for what we're doing, I think it's gonna be better for us to start from scratch because we know we have a thing, that light, that we want to make a shell for.
Should I have taken measurements on the thing?
Let's go grab one. We can take measurements right now.
Okay.
Perfect. And what I like to do in these models is I will start and I'll make a very simple model of the thing we're modeling around.
Oh.
Just so I have a reference.
Okay.
So I will take some basic measurements off of this.
Okay.
And we go from there. I like to work in metric because it's easier to keep those numbers in my head. It's
Calipers.
Ooh, it's magnetic.
Yeah.
Okay. So that is, we're gonna call it
27 and a half.
Yeah, I'll call it 28 because we want to make sure it fits for sure. And I'm going to do a top-down view. It's going to be 28, right?
Okay.
Simple sketch. And all I'm doing is I'm recreating the 2D profile of this thing.
And then you're just going to extrude it out from there.
Exactly. So we're going to say that this rectangle is 13 tall. Okay.
And then you're going to want to get the
overall width of the thing, which I'm going to call 45. If you were making something for like a car or where you needed to have tighter tolerances, you want to be a little more precise than what I'm going to be for this.
Yeah.
But this part here, let's say that's 16.
Oh, that's interesting. I wouldn't have thought to bother to make the front of the light accurate since, we're going to cut off that part anyway.
Yeah, really all you need for the model is just a piece that gives you all the basic measurements so you're not having to constantly reference it.
Yeah.
But because we want the shell to kind of cover this whole thing, and I'm gonna go, and it's a simple part, I'm gonna go ahead and just put that in there, just so we have it for reference.
And also, we do want our bezel to stop at this point so that we're not blocking light.
Yeah, we don't want to do that, right? We don't want to cut light, so that's gonna be important to reference as well. Okay, and then I can use a couple other tools like the mirror function so I don't have to draw that twice. And then I'm going to get rid of the lines that I don't need because I'm just making a basic profile. 6 millimeters.
That was so fast.
Oh, yeah. I've been doing this a lot since the pandemic.
When did you start?
During the pandemic. Everyone was doing their thing. People were learning languages and everything.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm not going to sit around the whole time. I'm going to learn how to do this.
Yeah.
I have no more excuses. Okay, so that's, if we kind of look, that is a very generalized.
Yeah, it does look, is that really the difference? It looks wider on this one.
Yeah, so it does flare out here.
Oh, that's right, because I got it, and you're not including that. So basically, this part right here is farther in on this. Got it. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, that tracks.
Okay, and then all we need to know, since we're just going to extrude, so I'm going to click Finish Sketch.
Is how long it is.
It's how long it is.
I can take that.
You can also use this. It's my handy dandy metric tape measure.
Oh. Okay, 108.25. So I guess what 110?
Yeah, we'll run to 110. So, boom, there's our light.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I'm seeing it now.
Yeah.
Is it worth having a ground layer so that we can get a sense of where this lines up when this is resting down like that?
Yeah. So I'm gonna do that in the actual lamp design.
Sure.
This is a little bit of like a hacky way of doing it, but it's the most efficient for my workflow. I'm just gonna draw a sketch line. And that is parallel with the bottom of our light. And that's just gonna be there for reference. I'm not gonna extrude it. And then when I move it, I'm gonna go to move, I'm gonna rotate it, grab the part, and I'm gonna rotate it along the axis of that lowest point of the lamp. So now, when I rotate it.
That's great. So it's like you can move the center of gravity basically outside of it.
Yeah. So we know that it lays back and it rests on the cable, but it also rests on that point there.
Yeah, that's close enough.
Yeah, so we'll just tilt it back until we have 2 points of contact on that line, just like that. And so now it's just a matter of figuring out what we want our light to actually look like.
How would one search for inspiration? In fact, let me just do this. I'll just look for old vaudeville shows.
Depending on how opulent the theater was, some were designed, everything was designed from scratch by different designers.
There we go. So there's the seashells right there, like we were talking about. Let's see, there's some more footlight shells. Okay, so there's something a little bit different. So even if it was just like that, would be fine.
Well, we can also consider theming, right? If we think about your podcasting studio setup, you know, there's a little bit of like a guerrilla film thing going on, but it's also got that professional edge to it. What are some of the design or elements or some of the aspects of your studio that you like the most?
I wonder if that space needs to reflect the entire studio, because that space is kind of meant as kind of a trophy space. So it's sort of symbolic of my time touring as a performer.
Well, in that case, you know, you went into a lot of theaters, you did a lot of magic, which has a lot of roots in vaudeville performances. Maybe something traditional like the seashells or Art Deco is the way to go.
I mean, I wouldn't normally pick that from a menu, but if we want it in universe, then that does make sense. And I guess people, they were cuckoo for seashells back in the day.
Yeah, well, and of course they were cuckoo for she I can't say that word.
Nope, neither could I.
They were cuckoo for seashells because they were that shape.
Yep.
So they made a reflector, and then, you know, some artist or designer or whatever looked at it and went like, what does that look like? Oh, it's a seashell. Let's just make it look like a seashell, right?
It's so funny how often the first thing you blurt out is like, yeah, but that's dumb. And then you talk a lot and you're like, yeah, I guess we're going with the dumb thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, some kind of seashell thing.
Okay, so this is a little more of a complicated shape to make because we've got these compound curves, and I like this reference image because it shows me...
Oh, that's right, because you can just trace this stuff.
We could import this as a canvas and then trace right over it. These were designed to go around round bulbs, though, and these are not round.
Right.
So I'm going to keep this open just as a inspiration, to make sure I'm getting the image right. So I'm going to start at the bottom, and I'm going to start with the bottom profile of this thing.
I like that it almost kind of looks like a tree there.
Yeah, I do too. That one to me feels a little more like Art Deco inspired.
Yeah, a little bit closer to, I don't know, steampunkish instead of organic.
I do think that this sort of half circle shape that is the base, so it can self-stand, I think we want that because it'll self-stand, but also it'll give us a good structure. So I'm going to start at the bottom of this thing. I'm going to figure out the profile of what that circular shape's going to be, and then once we have that base locked in, then we can start designing all of our filigree and our accents.
Should I let you cook? Because I got to do the Cordkillers podcast.
If you want to do that more than hang out with me, yeah.
Oh, you don't. I'm sorry, keeping the lights on.
Keeping the lights on.
You know what? That's right.
Welcome to Cordkillers Reckoning. The world of entertainment is turned upside down, and me and my friend Brian Brushwood, we're just trying to find out how to watch what we want, where we want, whenever we want. I'm Todd Merritt. Brian, where's the good stuff?
It's somewhere in the sound of my brain short-circuiting as I went.
They have a Bamboo Labs A1 Mini, and that has a different size print bed than a lot of printers. And I want to make sure this whole thing can print in one go. So I'm keeping that in my head while I'm designing this. And one of the other things I like to do is that these are all my base features. It renders them all out in this sort of like satin steel color, and I will just assign different colors or different materials to it while I'm working with it to make sure that I'm not losing track of what I'm doing. Okay, how am I gonna do this shell shape? So what I'm doing here is I'm just sort of making up basic sketches. It's the same thing as you would be doing if you were to sketch in like a notebook, where you're just getting down basic ideas. You're not trying to focus on the final thing at any point. It's all about getting the basic shapes in and then refining those as you go. Starting to get kind of shell-shaped. Another thing to remember when you're doing design work like this is that there's always more than one way to skin a cat. The way I do it may not be the most efficient way to do it, but it is a way that'll work for me. Now we're at a point where you can see I've made a shell for the shell, and I've hollowed it out, and I'm checking to make sure my lights and everything fit inside. But I don't like, obviously, how blocky this is. We want it to be more organic, more shell-shaped. I have the two profiles that I want. I've got my back and front profile, and I've got my top and bottom profile. I'm gonna use one to cut a shape out of the other using the sketch palette.
So kind of a Boolean operation?
Yeah, it's a Boolean operation that I can I'm a very hands-on person, and so I kind of want to do it myself, so that way I can feel like I'm building something.
Sure.
That just helps with my brain. There's obviously, there's a Boolean tool in Fusion, which you can use to good effect, but I just learned weird, I guess. I want that shell to be 6 millimeters thick. Okay, so there's half my shell.
My primary experience is with mesh modeling. So
Yeah.
it's interesting how there are so many common tools, but also workflow is quite different, and problem solving is very different because you're not dealing with, quads and figuring out.
Yeah, you're not remeshing, you're not worried about your polygon count, I've noticed that, especially with mesh models, they'll take a little more abuse. So if you're really hacking at them and cutting away and changing things, the program's not worried about making sure they're watertight, so you can kind of get away with stuff. This program is trying to compute all that stuff at the same time, making sure it all stays solid, and it can get real finicky. So another handy tool is called interference, and I can run that operation and make sure that none of my parts are touching that are in the way. So if I have something that's supposed to interlock or an assembly I'm building, I can check it with that tool. So right now I've just made sure that the light doesn't hit any of the parts of our shell.
Where are we at on this project?
Okay, I got to a point where it was time for me to do test prints.
Okay.
And the big part of doing the test prints is making sure we'll get something successful out of the printer. If your design has overhangs, if it's got too thin of walls, things like that.
You got scaffolding issues.
Exactly. So, this was the first print off the printer.
Yeah. No, that looks great.
It looks great, except, look in there, see all that?
Well,
Those are all overhangs. Now, you're not gonna see them, but I want to make sure that we got a quality thing, right?
This is where your artist brain is different than my magician brain. My magician brain thinks no one should ever be looking in here. If anyone is looking in here, I've done something wrong.
That may be true, but I'm also concerned about making sure that it prints flawlessly each time or prints well, because if we get fails on our overhangs, that could lead to a completely failed print.
Okay.
So if it fails down here, that's gonna domino up to up here.
And was there scaffolding on this one?
Yes, so I started with doing something called tree supports.
Yeah. It looks like a broccoli bench pressing something.
Exactly, it's trees. It's really cool on the printer. It looks like trees are growing up to support the thing you built.
Yeah.
This is so big. This is designed to fit almost exactly onto your print bed.
Yep.
So there wasn't a ton of room for the slicing software to generate those supports.
Got it.
And so we got those failures. And so I was trying to think, what's the best way to guarantee that we'll have to have minimal supports and get a good print each time.
Yeah, that's right, because you don't want the trees to be coming off the print themselves. They need to be on the bed.
Exactly.
I see.
So I thought, let's split it into two parts. And then if you need to glue them together, you can do that.
Oh, yeah.
But that'll allow us to arrange the part like that.
Yeah, so this one, you could have a bunch of trees that support it.
Well, I printed it like this, because that's less height.
Even better.
It's more self-supporting because there's a bit of an arch shape.
You know what? And also, this one, you get your layers this way, the grain, whereas this one, in fact, actually, if you were to sand this down, I bet it would actually pass for like a type of wood grain or something.
I've used that to great effect in the past. But for this particular project, since we want this to kind of look Art Deco-y and made of wood, or made of brass and metal, whatever, I didn't like that.
Okay.
And those lines are all because of the orientation and the way the printer prints in layers.
Okay.
Right? But by having a base with a place you could stick the thing.
Oh, that's awesome.
You could glue it right together.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. And if we wanted to, we could even make a groove for the power to come out of the base.
You could. Or if you didn't like the base, if you want to have something lower profile, it's all designed to still have the same flat area, so you could separate that out.
That's great.
So I still wanted to figure out how to not get these prints and how to get consistent print success. Right? And I realized I'm too excited about the new toy. I wanted to use those tree supports because the slicing software I use at home doesn't have them. And so I was so excited. That wasn't the tool for the job.
Right.
So do you want to start a print on the final design?
Yeah. So you made an evolved print that you're totally happy with. Oh, by the way, this is my favorite thing about 3D printers, is 3D printers that make tools to be used on the 3D printers.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons I wanted to buy a lathe for my shop. 'Cause it's the only tool that can make itself.
Yes!
Very cool. That's a whole subset of the 3D printing hobby, is just modding your printer with prints that you 3D printed for your printer. It's a rabbit hole. Yeah. But you've got a great printer, and it takes care of all the bed leveling, it takes care of all the temperature control, it does everything except for control the temperature of the environment. In fact, I did have one print failure.
Oh, because it's been cold lately.
Yeah, so it was so cold, the print was peeling off the bed.
Yeah.
And, you know, if your print's not staying in place while you're printing it, it's gonna fail. So that was really the only environmental thing we had to consider.
Yep.
It's a good temperature in here now.
Yep.
The bed is clean, there's no finger grease on it. When I clear off prints off the bed, I take this off and just bend it.
Oh, I didn't know I could do.
Yeah, you can bend
Today
it.
I learned.
So you can pop it right off. That's how I do it. But when you use the tool, you don't get your finger grease all over it.
Yeah.
So we don't have to worry about making sure that's clean. So all we have to do now, we've got the file loaded onto the SD card from the slicing software.
Yeah.
You just gotta push print.
Light shell G-code.
That's the one, yep.
All right. And then...
Let's turn the time lapse on so Brandt has footage. And then you can pick the colors off all your...
Probably the blue would be the most subtle, right?
The one that I have already printed, yeah, the blue would be the most subtle.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. Especially because, and it would be blue with the amber coming off of it. I don't know why it's so satisfying and important to sit and just... That's a jaunty tune. To just sit, I just want to see it start. I always just want to see it start. Ever since I had a dot matrix printer in 1982,
Yep.
just...
Yeah, I always watch mine to make sure the first print layer goes down and make sure it's all nice and solid. But like I said, the most dangerous thing is that it's hypnotic.
Oh yeah,
So I've
then
been-
suddenly you're watching it for
And
3
it's-
hours.
Exactly, and it's like, oh, my print's done already? What have I been, oh no.
Yeah. Oh wow, this is a beefy print. 8 hours?
Yeah. And that's printing at 0.28 millimeter layer height.
Oh, I guess you could select the slices.
Yeah, you can decide how many slices and how thick those layers are. The printer that you have kind of is known for printing at 0.02 millimeter layer height, something insanely high fidelity.
Okay.
I'm too impatient for that.
That is one of my favorite things, is watching it almost in a human-like way of like painting, wipe,
Yeah.
painting.
Well, and it's got these tools on the back of the print bed. It's got a little silicone brush and a little photo etch brush for cleaning the nozzle tip. And it does it every print.
That's awesome.
I have to do that with the wire brush manually.
Oh.
So I'm amazed that this generation of printer is just literally making this the replicator from Star Trek. It's getting there. Now what it's doing is it's automatically leveling itself.
Yep.
So it's checking multiple points.
It's taking measurements.
There it is doing its little fastidious self-cleaning routine. But yeah, it's just calibrating everything in and of itself to do all the compensation. No twiddling the thumb screws, nothing like that. I also like the simple things like it has a little indicator for, hey, look, the extruder is turning.
Oh yeah.
There it goes.
Oh wow, you weren't kidding. Yeah, we are at the max. We had to take the entire thing.
Oh yeah.
So, are we doing, this is just the base or the entire unit?
It's gonna print the whole thing in one go. You wanna see what it's gonna look like when it's done?
Yeah, I do. I guess you figured out that you didn't need all of the tree support.
Well, I needed a different type of support.
Okay.
Yeah. So I've got one I made earlier.
Hey.
So this is that file that we just started printing.
Yeah.
I printed it in gold because the ones we based it off of were brass-colored
yeah.
gold. And those are the supports that I went with.
Oh, wow.
So this is a more traditional support.
Okay, so instead of the cool organic tree shape, this is just straight up like, look, we just need it here and here. So we get to break these off.
You get to break them off, yeah.
Oh. Now, is there any best practices etiquette to tearing this off?
I made sure that all the parts were no thinner than 3 millimeters, so it should be pretty strong.
Okay.
Go ahead and just yank them out.
Okay. Oh my God. It feels like I'm just destroying a Christmas present.
It's kind of like you're cracking into a lobster, right? Like
yeah.
Whenever I design a 3D print, I always try to figure out how to make it so it'll print without supports.
Yeah.
Because this part to me takes forever. It adds time to the print.
Yeah,
You
of
have to clean
course.
it up, all that stuff. For this shape, I couldn't really think of a good way to get around it.
There we go. Huh. That's interesting. Like, I thought that all this stuff at the bottom was just on there, but nope, those are just part of the supports.
Yeah, so it prints slightly higher than it's supposed to when it's printing the supports.
Yeah.
So that way you don't get a full bond to your material so you can pull it apart later.
Yeah, if you're doing dozens of these, I could see that getting pretty annoying.
It also uses more filament. It takes more time. It's more resource heavy than printing without.
Yeah, so a whole thing of that filament, I want to say each roll was maybe what, 30 bucks?
20 to 30 bucks depending on where you buy it from, yeah.
Yeah, well, I know that this was the one that, this was the stuff that Bill Duran recommended that he likes.
Yeah, and this is just standard PLA. You can print in more advanced materials, but because this isn't going to be exposed to extreme heat and it's not going to be, anything like that, we can just go with.
It's not going to space.
Right.
Okay, so what's going on here? This is just a hole I punch out?
Yep.
Okay. Oh, I thought it was a clever trap door, but now I see that's the same kind of scaffolding that was on the front. Okay. We might need fine artist's hands for this part.
All right. Sometimes the best tools are the ones that we evolved.
Yeah.
That is my...
Yeah, where's our light?
Where is your light?
Let's take it home. I guess we'll position it here.
Yeah. Run the cable through the back. You want to plug it in.
Yeah.
Like that.
Look at that.
That's not bad.
No, it looks fantastic. That's so much classier. Dude, well done, Ryer.
Thank you.
High fives. Hey, Brandt, you hear that headline? A website that you use got hacked. Did you know that your credit card was in that leak? Ha! What? Yeah, that's right. That's what, every time you hear that stupid headline, what if you had the smug satisfaction of just saying a bloop delete? And you have to say a bloop? That's a trademarked Brian Brushwood. Privacy.com, you get that one for free, Privacy. A bloop is the way to go. Give your cards a bloop next time a website gets hacked by going to privacy.com/rogue. Generate one-time use cards, lock them to merchants, set limits to it. Privacy is PCI DSS compliant. That means they follow the same strict security standards as your bank. Look, man, we always love it when a sponsor comes back to us, so let's make them feel loved. Head on over to privacy.com/rogue. Get yourself $5 free. And best of all, protect your privacy.
This episode is supported in part by viewers like you at patreon.com/modernrogue, where we just published the unedited version of our most recent video with Jordan Breeding.
You also have the multi-spool attachment on this, which I think is really cool.
Yeah, if we could just get the right-handedness on the spools.
Yeah, that's something I didn't know was a problem.
I didn't know it was a problem too. I assumed that it was user error, and then just the more I looked online, I'm like, oh, apparently we haven't reached that level of standardization, which is a double-edged sword because you want things that you just, quote unquote, it just works.
Right.
But then you have to have a fairly closed, rigid environment in order to get that.